Hi, John. Thanks for coming in.
Nice to meet you, finally.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. So what brings you here today?
Um, what brings me here for the first time is few things actually, but one of the main thing is I just don't want to come out and say it, but I'm kind of having a problem not knowing who my real mother is, basically. What happened was I know who my father is, but I have suspicions about who, if he is really my father, basically. Um, and I know if I find the truth out about my real mother, my biological mother, I can know the real truth because there's been so many things going on in my life and so many rumors and lies that I've been told that I just don't know what to make of it, basically. And I just really want to know where I'm from.
That must be tough, I'm sure, growing up. I mean, so your whole life you've not known your mother, and yet were you raised with the person you think is your dad?
Yes, I have, and I have siblings.
Okay.
People who, I mean, we, you know, they're my siblings, obviously, because I grew up with them. Um, I also have a stepmother. I do have a mother figure
Okay.
who's my stepmother, but she despises me and hates me. She doesn't. She wishes that I wasn't alive. So I mean, this is causing a lot of friction in my
Sure.
family and has caused a lot of friction in my life and with my own personal relationships with other women and stuff like that. This
Sure.
has affected me. And I have a lot of anger towards them and towards my family because I just want to know the truth, you know. So that's why I'm here.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, family dynamics can be difficult just on their own when you have the biological family together. I
Yeah.
mean, when you don't have that, it's added factors that make it even more difficult. So I can just imagine how hard that must be for you.
Yeah.
Um, so you had said that it makes you angry. What does that look like?
Um, I get into bar brawls, as to say, or fights. I don't ask for them. It's just I tend to be in that place at that time, and I'm finding that I've had to fight a lot during my life. You know, basically, and I go to the point where I almost kill a person.
Okay.
I'll wound them very very badly, and that's not. I understand as an adult that's not a way to be. You know, basically with all that anger and fighting and outbursts. I do suffer from PTSD as well. I was in the military for about 5 years, and I've been to war, so I do understand. You know, I do have that aspect that I'm dealing with as well. But I found that that as of lately I've been growing further and further apart from my family because of these issues and because of also the PTSD issue as well. I was diagnosed with PTSD when I got back from Iraq, and when I got back from Iraq, I did start to see a therapist prior, but I kind of cut it off because I felt like it wasn't working or worth my while, and that's where I found out that my anger got worse. So
Okay.
yeah, I do have a lot of anger issues due to this.
Have you ever been in trouble with the law?
Um, I I've had tiffs with the law, but I've never been arrested. Um, due to the fighting, but I've been lucky in the fact that I haven't been arrested for it because I haven't been caught.
Okay.
I'll be completely honest with you. I know that this behavior is not good, but when I get into my episodes of my rage,
Yeah.
I can't control it, and after I'm done, I'm like I realize what I did, but and I feel bad for it, but I just don't know how to manage my anger to do with these different problems.
Yeah, it sounds like it could be quite frightening
Yes, it is.
to be in a rage that you're not really even knowing what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you ever find yourself feeling this way about your immediate family?
Um, I do not. I love my brothers and sisters. I love my father. He says he's my father. I love him. He's the only person I've known as dad. My stepmother, I've been wanting for many years. I wanted to be accepted by her. I would do a lot of different things to please her. Growing up, and she never once recognized me. She would always tell me to my face, "I wish you were dead. I wish you would leave." I went when I went to the military. I went to go. My brother was paralyzed, and I went to go say goodbye to him. And she told me to get out, and that she hoped that if I was wherever I was going to go fight, that I'd not come back. Um, just a very hateful person.
And so when that would happen to you, what would you feel like at that moment?
I'd have a lot of anger and a lot of despair. But I would just kind of put it down deep, and I think that's where a lot of my anger goes to, with my anger with rages and bar brawls and stuff like that. It comes out. That's why I was such a successful soldier, because it was something that I almost took joy in fighting, and because I thought I was fighting against her during all that time.
Okay, so somehow it was like a release.
It was like a release of energy, and that's where I found my sanity. And the only thing I knew how to do was be a soldier, and that was the only place where I felt like I actually mattered as someone. And it's it's a very confusing way to be, you know. That's why I'm after my first um, therapy sessions, it kind of fell apart because I just didn't understand. It was too much truth at one time for me to take. But over the years, as I've gotten older, I've kind of gotten tired of it, you know, as to say, and I don't want to live my life like this no more. I want to eventually have kids of my own, and I would love to be a good parent to them as well. I was always pretty much, my family is a wealthy family, but I was always marked the son of excuse my language, I was always marked a bastard, basically. And so this has affected me, you know, with society itself, you know, just being in the upper class echelon, you know. So that's why I joined the military, to run away, basically, and nobody knew me there. Everybody only knew me for my own qualities, basically. So this is why I'm here now, so I could figure this out. I know that if I find out who my biological mother is, or if I can at least get pointed in the right direction, that a lot of who I am would come to light, and I would be able to deal with myself, you know. And I'm just lost right now. I'm very lost.
What does it look like in your mind to find your real mother?
I have it's funny, because I have this image of her being someone that was heroic, and she was almost maybe even a tomboy, as to say, because I have I just have this in my, I don't know why, it's weird why I think about this. She was an archer. She rode horses. She was just something tells me even she was in the military as well. You know, I don't know where did I get this, where I get this feeling. I know my father, who says he's my father, he's a good military strategist. He served in the army as well. That's one of my decisions that made me join the army. Sure. But I have this feeling about my mom. I don't know. She, you know, I have suspicions, and I have a couple different theories about who my mother is, because of things that I've heard as I was growing up to adulthood.
Do you actually think she's in your life somehow?
I just have a connection. I really think that my dad is a family member, but I don't think that he's my dad. As to say, I believe that maybe he's more of a relative, because that's how it feels. And that my stepmom was actually an aunt.
So you said your stepdad is like a relative, because that's how it feels. What does that feel like?
Well, because I want to say, do you ever have, you know, you have uncles, and you go to your uncles, and the way uncles treat you?
Sure.
You know, and because I have, you know, I have my dad, but also I have his brother, and he treats me like his brother treats me, like more of an uncle. Okay. And that's where some of my suspicions kind of, because I've seen him interact with my siblings, and he's more of a father figure to them. And I don't know if it's, I don't know. It makes me question whether I have a biological tie to him, or a family tie to him, but I don't feel like I have the father-son tie that I should have. That I've seen other father-sons kind of have.
Have you ever asked him?
I asked him one time, and he told me, and there's where lies the problem. Here's another piece to this, is that he was murdered, and he before he left to do what he was going to go on the trip that he was going on, he told me that we would talk about my mother when he got back, but he never returned from his trip. So
So
it just leaves me in awe, and I don't know. I don't know. I just, I don't know.
Are you living with your stepmother now?
No, I'm currently not.
No.
I'm like I said, I'm out of the family. I don't have any contact with her at all.
Okay.
I just have contact with my siblings who I hadn't seen through my because I was away in the military.
Sure.
But I have contact with them. Is about the only family, and even that contact is kind of dwindling because there's only certain siblings that I talk to, more on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And a monthly basis more than an everyday basis.
How long ago was this that your dad died?
It was about 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
And you used the word murdered.
Yeah.
Was he murdered in war, or was he murdered in some other way?
He was murdered. Basically, he was executed, but I believe he was wrongfully executed for a crime that he didn't commit.
Wow.
So, yeah.
It's a lot of unresolved things there.
Tensions,
I mean, when you said you were going to talk about your mother.
Yeah.
And then he never came back to do that.
Yeah. So I'm kind of left with these questions, and I don't know what direction I need to go. I guess I just gotta find some way. Somehow do some type of research or something to find out who my biological mother is. It's so funny because I had an aunt. He had a sister that was died giving birth at a young age, and nobody ever really talks about her though. And I've always wondered about that. I've always wondered I've even wondered if I've even had a connection to her at one point in time, because I see, like I said, I see the family resemblance, and I know I'm part of that family, part of this family, but there's a question, there's a lot of unanswered questions, there's a lot of secrecy about who my mother is.
Yeah.
And when I was little, when I directly asked my father, he would kind of, scathe the question. He would kind of like not answer it or ignore me, or tell me things like that, and that was the final answer that I got from him before he was executed or murdered, was that we would talk about it when I got back from war. So that just there's just too much going on there,
Well, it sounds like quite a bit of tragedy in your family.
And that this is, I know that this has a lot to do with my anger.
Yes.
I just wish I knew who I was. As far as my family, I know who I am as a person, which I've come to terms with. But I wish I knew maybe if I knew if for sure he was my father, and I didn't have all these questions, and for sure that she was who my mother was, I probably would be able to ground myself.
Those connections are so powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful. People sometimes live their lives searching for these questions.
If it wasn't for my sisters, I don't think I would have any family. I'd be honest. Yeah. And I love my sisters a lot. They're always behind me. So it's that's the only thing that keeps me sane or makes me feel any part of the family. I'm my youngest and my oldest sister. So
you had mentioned that you have a friend named Sammy. How is Sammy helping you through this?
He's been a support. He's going to school to become a counselor.
Okay.
And he's pointed me in different directions. He told me that I should maybe look at my birth certificate and look back at old birthing records and stuff like that to see. I haven't been able to find my I have my birth certificate, but I haven't been able to find my actual place of birth. It doesn't have like, you know, like you would have born in,
Sure.
say, El Paso, Texas, or Albuquerque, New Mexico. It doesn't have
Oh,
that on it. It's just a generic birth certificate.
more unanswered
Yeah,
questions.
and it's funny because I don't know where I'm born. There was some question or something that was brought up by my uncle that I had been born in Spain. He told me one time, and I didn't. Oh no, that's
Wow.
you know, am I actually, you know, but why would that not be on my birth certificate?
Right.
You know, so
Right.
there's more mystery about this whole
Yeah,
entire
it seems
thing.
like quite a bit.
And I'd like to find that out, you know. And
Yeah.
I know if I could find my place of birth, that would be a start with me finding
Yeah.
who I am.
I think there's definitely some avenues that you can take as far as records and things like that can be really helpful. I mean, there's lots of websites and things like that can sort of guide you in those ways of finding those answers. But you know, something that I'm noticing about you, John, is that you're very self-aware, and that's really powerful. I mean, for you to be able to talk about what it is that is driving your anger. I mean, a lot of self-reflection has been going on with you. I can tell that. And so that's really hopeful.
Yeah.
So I think that we should meet again, and we should maybe just talk a little bit more about the anger part, and maybe about what it looks like to find your answers.
Okay. That'll work. I can definitely do that.